I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad because I'm serving a mission to serve my fellow human beings. Because the school system will never teach you about money. They teach people to be poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because this is an escape. The reason they're poor is they haven't failed.
It's that fear mentality. You play it safe and you don't introduce new risks into your life.
We got to change what we teach our kids.
Introduce a real different mindset.
How can I afford it? How can I do that? A question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. One of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. My success comes from spirituality, not finance. Every time I failed, it was like, okay, what have I learned? I grow from it. We have a mission to do. My success comes from spirituality, not finance.
I see you giving this knowledge out, and
yeah.
Do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robert?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know.
Right.
Keep them poor. But, unfortunately, the poor will always be amongst us. This poverty is passed on. It's taught in your families, because it starts up here. Well, I wasn't poor by most people's standards, but I came from a family with a poor attitude, if you know what I mean. Because rich, poor, middle class, poverty starts with a fundamental attitude. People say, well, money is not that important to me. Then if money is not that important to you, money is not important to you. You know what I mean? I don't care about money. The money doesn't care about you. The word does become flesh. But when they say, I can't afford it or I can't do that, they go down. They become what they say. My PhD daddy says, what do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that. And my rich dad would say, that's why he's poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because this is an escape. It's an escape. You know what I mean? It's easy to say, I can't afford it.
And you play it safe and you don't introduce new
Correct.
risks into your life. And your rich dad used to say what instead of, I can't afford it?
How can I afford it? How can I do that? What would it take, or why should I do that? He says that a question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. So when you say, I can't afford it, your mind shuts down, and you become what you say. But the thing is that we become creatures of our own habits. And until we break the habit, we don't change. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you. Your superego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever. I have bad luck too. I've had financial crashes. I've had people stab me in the back, but they're all good. Okay, what have I learned? Because I grow from it. That's spirituality. Right? People who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad, there's right and there's wrong, there's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right. They only want to be positive. Well, you can't have that. That's not reality. And the average person, the reason they're poor is they haven't failed. They play it so safe. And it's understandable. We all have fear. To be truthful, we all have fear. It's just how you deal with it. And Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge, but knowledge empowers imagination. And what most people lack is real business knowledge, like accounting, like debt, like taxes. You got to know that stuff, but they don't teach it in school to anybody. So, and then when people ask me, how did your rich dad learn this when your poor dad, a PhD, didn't? And the answer is very simply, my rich dad, who's my best friend's father, his father died when he was 13. So rich dad had this family business at 13 to run. So he had to drop out of school, which was his blessing. There's blessings, and sometimes the blessing doesn't look like a blessing, but it turned out to be a blessing. And then his teachers became his bookkeeper, his accountant, his attorney, his banker, his real estate agents. So he has what I call real teachers, not these fake teachers in school. You see, most teachers in school, they're out of ethics. They teach subjects they themselves don't practice. I asked the teacher, I said, I'm in my 3rd year of calculus now. It was called strength of materials. I said, am I ever going to use this stuff? He goes, no. I said, why do you teach it? Because I get paid. I said, do you ever use it? He goes, no. And that's why, you have to, in life, one of the things I suggest to people, you got to find a real teacher versus a fake teacher. And a fake teacher is somebody who doesn't do what they teach. And a real teacher is doing what they teach every day. So my accountants, my attorneys, they're in it every single day. And that's how I learn, because every day I'm solving problems in my business. So I have accountants and attorneys and bankers and all these people on speed dial because I'm solving problems with my team. You talk about the spirit of the players coming out. There were guys falling down the field, not because they were tired, they were cramping up. They couldn't go anymore. Rugby is a team sport, but so is soccer. The rules are different. And other people are golfers. They play by themselves. And so everybody's different. So my game financially is business, number 1. Second is real estate. So what I say to young people is, you find your game. So anyway, how does a guy like me, a little kid with no money, and it wasn't I was poor, we're very middle class, I think my father was making about $20,000 a year. So my father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, I said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no. Your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, And he got flustered and he said, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? And I said, why? That's Mike. So I asked him. He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. I went, oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs. And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money, because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them. So I'm all confused. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, But that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. And finally, through persistence, my rich dad started teaching me about money. And now I'm 9 years old, my head's going cracking in half. He says, you never want a paycheck. You understand that, kid? He says, that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. I said, okay, I got it. And he says, well, how do I make money? He says, that's what entrepreneurs figure out. So he would just break out a Monopoly game board and he would teach me about money. But the way he taught me about money was playing Monopoly. He says, there's many formulas for great success in money. There's thousands of them. But he says, one of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel.
Acquired assets and they became bigger assets.
I play Monopoly in real life. I don't need a job. I don't have a retirement. Don't need a retirement. Our schools don't teach that. Our schools teach almost the exact opposite of that.